and welcome to another gorgeous episode of Navigating Mindfulness, where we get into personal growth, where we get into growing ourselves and growing our business and applying all these personal growth strategies to make sure that we're living a delicious, fulfilling life. My name is Cheryl Sutherland, and I am going to give a quick shout out to my co-host, the one and only Lisa McHale, who is on holiday at the moment, and in her taking care of herself and her boundaries and enjoying herself, we have a round of applause for her. However, instead, I've replaced her. It's not a Coraline situation, almost. Super close. No buttons on her eyes, on their eyes. I have my good friend and you're such a great strategist, obviously. Lindsay Johnson. Now, one of the reasons why I'm excited to bring Lindsay to you, and they were already on an earlier episode where they were here with one of my other friends, Elle. They are actually a delicious nerd when it comes to business strategy and has so much insight. They are able to give you all the goodies to make sure that you can build your business and be successful and be aligned and just like do all the things that you really want to do. So they have been teaching business skills and strategies for over millions of years. They've been in the game for over 20 years. Yep. And then born into a family of entrepreneurs, Lindsay has been like living, breathing, sweating this stuff for longer than, I've had my business, which is not like that long, but it's
sweating the stuff. I kind of like that. That's
sweating, like you can say, success, it's salty.
Salty money.
Salty money. So without further ado, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce the one and only Lindsay Johnson. Lindsay, tell us a little bit more about you.
Wow. First of all, I am super psyched. So it is early here on the West Coast, and I feel like I've just like mainlined coffee, like that energy of that. Of that introduction. So hello. I'm very excited to be here. Very honored to be here. I always love when we get together and hang out. I'm Lindsay Johnson. My company is called The Radical Connector, or you could call me The Radical Connector. And I'm a business development.
They are The Radical Connector. I'm not going to lie. Right? They plugged me into so many people, places, and things, but I digress.
You know, it's so funny because so a couple of things. The word radical in my business name, that is for me all about facilitating radical self-acceptance. How do we use entrepreneurship to facilitate radical self-acceptance? And connector is really about how I can connect you, connect you to your business, and connect you to the world. And so I do a lot of connecting internally, externally. And it's so funny because I hear it at least once a week. You really are the radical connector. You really are the radical connector. I can't help myself but connect cool people together. So that makes sense.
You're a magnet for magnificence.
Right?
If you don't have a shirt with that on, now we're going to have to make one.
Yes.
Lindsay is actually the person that plugged me into my first speaking gig when I moved to Toronto. I'm not too sure if you knew that was my first one. However, thank you so much for getting me on that panel, Bake Lemonade. And I love how you did such a great job of talking about radical self-acceptance as being part of your business, because that is what we get into today. We are talking about not only self-acceptance, authenticity. Everybody says, be yourself and you'll be successful. Be yourself and you'll be successful. However, in this world of algorithms, in this world of likes and metrics and all of this stuff, it can feel quite overwhelming to make sure that you're doing the right things in order to get the views, in order to let people see your stuff, in order to be successful. So we are going to be getting into radical self-acceptance, exploring the concept of that, and really how can we actually bring that to our business on a day-to-day basis. I was actually talking to Lindsay earlier this week, and I was expressing how I was feeling anxiety often because I would look at my analytics and my insights, which I should never do, let's be honest, on Instagram. And I would notice that like every week I was just like slowly dropping in followers and dropping in engagement and all these different things. And I'm like, I'm still putting out the same content, like, however, getting into this concept of like, what do I need to do in order to make these people to like me? Now, for those who have been a fan of the podcast for a hot minute, you know that one of my things that I have been growing through, one of the limiting beliefs was that I have to make sure that people like me so that I'm safe, right? Like that is one of the things that I play with. So being authentic, being myself, really standing up for myself, and like just even getting to know who I am and expressing that can be really difficult, especially with all this sway of these analytics. So Lindsay, let's get into this, shall we? So you've started your business and you've been running your business for so long. So what do you feel like, how does business tie into radical self-acceptance? Talk to me. Can
So
I talk to you? Sorry.
So I'm going to back it up just a second, because I loved what you just said about it being scary to be yourself, or being worried of the analytics around being yourself. And there's another issue around being ourselves and authentic as well. And that sometimes we don't know who we are. We don't know who we are outside of who we've been told we are. And I really experienced this. I was married for 10 years and got divorced, and it's been a while. It's been like 12 years. So it's in the far distant past. But I remember having this very humbling, awakening moment of asking myself, well, who are you, Lindsay, and what do you want? And there was no answer there. No answer, no concept of who I was and what I wanted. And that really started me on a very intense journey inward to figuring out and seeing who I wasn't, and all the things that had been put on me that I had bought into I had to be, and stripping that away to find the real authentic me. And so it is a process. And for anyone out there feels like they're kind of faking it and they don't know who they are, it's kind of normal, because I feel like we get told who we are for many years and have to unpack that, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's very indicative of like one of the big problems that we have in society today. We put a lot of this onus outside of ourselves, even within our teaching system. It's like, you tell me what I need to know and what I need to do in order to be successful. And then you're also going to grade me on that. But then when we're out in the real world, we're out here looking for that feedback.
Yes.
However, it takes so much time to realize that the only place that you're going to find the answers that you're looking for is internally. One of the things we talked about as well the other day was that growing up, I used to be very malleable in regards to like who I felt I needed to be around different people. And therefore, if I was like struggling with an opportunity or like a choice, whether like what I was going to do in school or whichever, I would ask I would poll the audience and ask multiple people, what is it that's actually happening here? And what is it that I should do? And then after listening to all these people, decided to move forward based on what felt good or what felt the best. Now, for you, why do you feel like this journey of radical self-acceptance is a key to being a successful entrepreneur?
So I would say the number one reason is the business decisions you make. What kind of business you start, how you decide to build it, what you decide to sell, how you decide to market it, collaborations you decide to do, all these things. When we have this sense of radical self-acceptance, when we accept and know who we are, those business decisions become a lot easier and a lot more fruitful, profitable. I'm sorry, I don't know why my camera keeps turning off. We're going to have to roll with it, friends. So our choices become more profitable. Our choices become more in alignment. We attract more of the right people, opportunities, things into our lives, into our business. So I think that's the most important factor, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really love about what you said is like, we have this opportunity to create something new, right? People love innovation. However, when you're looking at some of the people that are really killing it in their fields, like I'm just going to speak on Simone Biles because she's been in the news lately. And then of course we've got like, stars like Beyonce or, LeBron James or like all these people. However, it wasn't until they broke that threshold where people are like, oh yeah, I know them, or, oh yeah, I celebrate them. One of my favorite ones that just comes to mind is the women that won the first gold medal for the Philippines in, if I'm not mistaken, powerlifting. So she won silver in the last games, and she was berated by her government, like, and then people made fun of her, and she'd asked for money to keep training, and they were just like giving her the most grief. Now that she's actually showing up and she won, not that she wasn't showing up before, but now that she showed up to this one and won, they gave her 2 houses, they gave her over $500,000 and really poured on praise. So it's very interesting to see like that the thing that we're really looking for, the thing that we actually like really love is that authenticity. However, we're been told not to be authentic, right? And like, so for you, what do you feel like has been the thing that has allowed you, because of course you're going through so much growth, like even the time that I've known you, it's been magnificent knowing you, just even shifting like within like your business and also within like your personal life and like what you want and what you don't want and where you want to live and all these different things. So what do you feel like is something that people can hold on to when they're being called to move into this next version of themselves?
Next version meaning authentic or?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, the examples of Beyonce, Simone Biles, they had to play the game because they were entering a game. They were entering a board game, a life game that the rules were already set. So they had to play that game until they were big enough, right, to be able to make their own rules. Entrepreneurship is different. Generally people go into entrepreneurship because they are sick of playing by someone else's rules, right? And they want to create something for them or for the world, but their way. And so I think remembering that when it's your own business, you can do whatever you want, right? You can make it however you want, create it however you want, talk about it however you want. I mean, obviously there's strategic things you want to do so that you're actually profitable, you're successful, but just remembering that you get to make the rules. And that could be a scary place because like you said earlier, we're looking outside ourselves for someone to tell us what to do. And that is, again, one of the big challenges of entrepreneurship in the beginning is being real and honest with ourselves about what we want, and then having the guts to go out and ask for it, create it, do it. Right?
Yes. Go ahead.
I forget the question.
Okay, no, it was fine. So like, this is perfect timing because I was just going to go into another question that like is super,
Did I actually answer the question?
You kind of did. You actually did. You did. And I'm very proud of you. You're doing a great job, sweetie. You're doing it.
What the hell is going on with my brain? It's because my vacation is so soon. It's so soon.
It's so soon. Just,
hold on,
like,
Lindsay.
After this, like, just put on your out of office. We're gonna call this a wrap. Like vacation got pushed up. Because you make your rules. This is your business.
This is the thing, friends. This is the thing.
Okay, so my next question is, and this is actually something that I struggled and continue to like come up against, is not wanting to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, there's all these rules where people are like, don't put too much in your stories. And like, if you have like all these little tabs on Instagram, then like, that's just too much. Or like, or even like for, and then like, people are like, no, you want to have more because people like engagement. And then you're like, okay, don't put too much in your emailer. And then people are like, put a whole bunch in your emailer, or like email your people twice a week. Yeah. And then it's like, no, you need to email your people like once a month. How do you know what is the right thing? And like, also like, because we just want to be successful. We just want to reach that thing that's like, okay, I'm okay now. Like, I'm safe now. Like I'm at this point where I can start moving on to different things because things are consistent, right? So how do you figure out, and how do you choose?
So, this is such a delicious question. I love this question. So when the pandemic, it became obvious that this was going to be an issue. So in March last year, I looked around at a lot of people in my community and realized that they were going to have to figure out how to build their business online in a hurry because most of them didn't know how to do that. And so I really went in with starting to talk with, study, understand how to grow online, because there's a difference between having an online business and building your business online. Two very different things, because some of these people didn't have an online business. It was an offline business, but they had to figure out how to build it using online tools, or they were going to be dead in the water. And so I put together a summit. I brought in all these experts in building online. So emails, Instagram, right? Like sales funnels. And the one thing after 6 months of really digging in with these folks that I realized is that there are no rules, that there is no set strategy or formula that is a blanket for everybody, that you have to figure out what your audience responds to, right? You need to figure out what, you know, that balance between what you like to create, what people like to consume, right? How much you have capacity to create and how much your people have capacity to consume. You got to find that sweet spot. And so again, stop looking outside yourself for a magic formula and just start getting brave and just start testing. Do a few long emails and a few short emails. You know, put your hyperlinks in different spots in your emails. Try a button versus a word that's hyperlinked. You know, try these different things to see what people click on or what they open on Instagram. See what people engage with and what they don't. What prompt makes them comment and engage? What kind of post makes them save or share? You know, you need to just test a bunch of things. And so your point earlier about not looking at your analytics, no, look at your analytics. Don't take it personally though. Understand that building a business online is a science experiment, and you have to do a lot of testing to see what works and what doesn't. And do not take it personally, right? If people unfollow you on your list, but that email was closer to who you are authentically and the things you want to talk about, then that's great. Get them off your list. They've opted out. They have saved you the job of having to take them off, because if it doesn't align, you don't want them there, right? And you know, again, people sometimes see unfollows or unsubscribes as a negative thing. But if your content is closer to authenticity, like I said, closer to who you are and what you want to be talking about, that's a good sign when people leave, when unsubscribe, right? Because it means that you're getting closer to who you really are and what you really want to talk about. And the people who are not aligned with that are leaving, and the people who are going to stay and they're going to engage more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I love what you said in a couple different reasons. Like, it's like when we talk about dating, it's more about quality than quantity, right? So like, what is the quality of people that are on your email list? If where you've gone and what you're doing now is authentic to you and those people just don't align with it, it's okay. It's not bad or wrong. It's just like that they're not your people anymore. And then in them opting out, it actually just makes things healthier for your list, because of course, when your open rate is higher, then that's better for you.
That's a better thing, especially if you're paying per person on your list. So there's some programs that you have to pay per person. So get them gone. Yeah,
exactly. And then one of the other things that I love that you said was really like testing and making it an experiment. I like to make things a game, right? So I'm like, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna play with this and this and and just not taking things personally is super, super important. Like I feel like there's just so much that we take as in like, this is me putting myself out there. And if you're rejecting this email headline, you're rejecting me. And it's really not true. What it is just like, it's just not the bee's knees, right? Like, it's not for me.
Not for them. Yeah. You know, I always think of it like whenever I'm learning a new card game or a board game, I'm a big picture person. I'm a like future thinker person. And so I think I want to win this game all the time. So what I do is I play hard and I lose hard in the beginning in these games. I don't care if I lose the first few hands, because I'm learning the strategy. I'm trying this. Oh, that didn't work. That didn't work. Oh, that worked. Oh, take a step further. That made this person do this. Okay. So that they fell into my trap of, you know, cards. I don't know. And so like I play, I don't want you to make people fall into a trap. I get really competitive when it comes to games.
This is not Jumanji. We're not playing.
This isn't Jumanji. Okay. Your business isn't Jumanji. Okay. But my point is that I try lots of different things until I find what works. And I don't care about losing in the short term, because I know that ultimately I'm going to crack the code to what works and win and win and win and win and win. And so look at your business the same. I said science experiment. You said game. Either way, understand that it is not personal, right? You are people are out there just living their lives. hang on. Sorry, folks. Sorry. So people are out there just living their lives, and not your only, but one of your main priorities as a business owner is to create something that they care about and
Mm.
that will get them to engage. It's not even about you. It's about your followers. It's about your readers. It's about the people whose lives you're changing. And so when you understand that, and I know people say that all the time, it's not about you, but really think about that. Is the content you're creating about you, or are you thinking about how will this impact the people who are consuming it? Because that's why they're following me. That's why they're engaging with me. Yeah.
Yeah, playing with that I think is so fun and so important. And then I think depending on who you are, that it could be good to outsource certain things. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do my own bookkeeping. That's just not my thing. I
Mhm.
outsource it because I get in my feelings too much and like
Yeah.
start questioning myself and then just go into a spiral and stuff like that. Just outsource those things.
Yeah.
And then one thing that came to me as you were talking was this level of authenticity also ties in really well to your zone of genius. So we've been
Yes.
talking about this for so long. What is your zone of genius? So like, if you have not read Gay Hendricks, oh my gosh, what is it? The Leap book, The Big Leap. There you go.
Yeah.
Ah! I was like, it was right there. I could see the fish. The Big Leap. He actually speaks about the how a lot of people will operate in their zone of excellence, meaning like that they're doing really well, like that
Yeah.
they've kind of mastered something. However, it's not either taking them out of their comfort zone or it's not like exactly like your thing. So
Yeah.
my zone of genius is actually speaking and like
Mm.
putting together content. I'm a huge idea person. I'm really great at like creating and executing those. However, when it comes to selling them and marketing them and pushing them out, like outbound sales, not so much. So that's why I have people that I'm choosing to bring in to support me with that.
Yeah.
So with you really holding on to that authenticity and that self-acceptance, how do you feel like that affects people when they're building their business and attempting to like really start delegating and then getting
Yeah.
into just doing the things that they should be doing?
Okay, so this might be a bit controversial, and I know that there's going to be people
Ooh.
that have, well, okay, not that controversial. I mean, come on. But
Mm.
there's going to be people that are going to have very different opinions, and that is fine. Everything I say, if it rings true for you, do it. And if it doesn't, don't do it. I don't believe in running from fear and things that are uncomfortable in your business. And I would say that the number one fear and also complete out of left field surprise for entrepreneurs is that they have to sell. And selling, people have so much anxiety and fear and resentment and anxiety. There's so many negative emotions around fear, around sales, sorry. And that needs to be unpacked, because if you are not able to sell what you are selling, that points to a deeper issue, right? We need to be able to sell. And so I don't believe in running from things that scare us. I do a lot of work around sales. I'm mostly marketing and sales with people. I teach people how to sell, how to get customers and make money. And I very much teach a sort of attraction-based marketing, permission-based sales process where you're co-creating the sales journey with your customer, whether it's one-on-one or digitally, virtually. And that's born from 20, 30 years of perfecting this, of figuring out what works and what doesn't. And very much not about manipulation or using scare tactics or guilt or shame that we often see out there in the sales world. And so for folks specifically that have an issue around sales and putting themselves out there, don't run from that. You need to understand your customer's journey and what makes them engage and buy from you. And then once you figure that out, then you can outsource sales if that makes sense for you, right? I'm in the process right now of automating my sales using online sales funnels, but I know what works and what doesn't. So that could be sales, that could be creating an Instagram reel, that could be public speaking, whatever it is for you in your business, and quite honestly in your life. If there is a fear there, I don't recommend running from it. I recommend figuring out what the fear is and unpacking for you what is true and what is not true about that, and then getting to a place where you can do it from a neutral perspective and not a fear-based avoidant perspective, because those are just bad life and business habits just to reinforce this avoidance. Do the thing that's scary. What's Lady Gaga? You can do hard things. Like, you can do hard things. And that doesn't mean if it's not, and I know I'm talking a lot right now, but that I'm almost done. But if it's not your zone of genius, that's fine, but don't hide from it. Still get in there and learn it so that you can effectively then outsource it and hand it off. But you can't outsource and hand off what you don't know. If you don't know how your customer buys from you, how can you tell someone else how to sell for you, right? So that's my opinion that people might not want to hear. But friends, don't run from fear. Face it, undo it, don't avoid, embrace. You can do hard things.
For sure. And I think that this is a very key point, because there's some people that might misconstrue being afraid of something versus just not being great at it, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm good at sales. I'm actually amazing at sales. I've won awards in sales. However, I'm just like, I just don't know how to sell like the strategies or like, doing like Facebook ads and like all that other stuff. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but I know you can get me on video and I can sell the heck out of a lot of things.
Yeah. So that's such a great point. So if it's like the techie things, like I don't know how to do Facebook ads, I'm not going to go take a Facebook ads course and learn how to be a Facebook ads expert, because my business is not a Facebook ads expert. So thank you so much for because let's bring it to the flip side, which is that is if you are avoiding something because of fear. But if it literally is a tech thing, or it's something that is not, it is something that you are not paid to do, please do not go invest in a course in learning how to do it, right? Pay someone to do it. Go make money and pay someone to do it, right? Stay in your zone of genius. And I know that's not always possible when people are just starting out, and so, and I realize we're talking a lot about entrepreneurship and business. I don't know how many of your listeners are entrepreneurs. So
yeah, this is like 99%.
Okay, good. Woo. So like if you're not an entrepreneur
podcast, baby, it's an entrepreneurial podcast.
I'm like,
this is the whole thing. Did you talk about entrepreneurs?
Listen, I don't know. I remember and then I forget. Okay, so let's talk about neurodivergence. Let's talk about overwhelm. Let's talk about exhaustion and burnout. I mean, these are the things when the brain is ready for a vacation and the brain is not operating at full mass. Let's talk about panties and its effect on our capacity to retain things. Oh, Lordy. Okay, so yes, if it is a fear, face it. If it is, this is not what I get paid to do, find someone to do it for you, even if it's an exchange, even if maybe you have to do it very lightly to begin with. As an entrepreneur, your number one job is to make money. That's it. It's not to create content. It's not to fill up your website. It's not to make a 5th lead magnet this month. It's to make money. So now if social media makes you money, then do social media. If networking makes you money, then network. If public speaking makes you money, do public speaking. So understand that there's so many things you can be doing in your business, but your job is to make money. And so whatever it is that makes that money, do more of that. And what doesn't make money, do less of that. Because when you have money, you can pay people whose zone of genius is copywriting and sales funnels and Facebook ads, right? So your job is to make money, not to be a jack of all trades expert. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally does make sense. And I think that does really tie into that whole self-acceptance piece.
Yeah.
Because self-acceptance, and then also just like, I don't want to say authenticity, because it's giving me a little bit, but it's not giving what it's supposed to give. What I really feel like is when you have this sense of confidence, not even confidence, but self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
When you're at this point where you could look at yourself and be like, I love me, but I know what I know and I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know this, and therefore I'm going to outsource this. That is part of self-acceptance. And then I think even like not even attempting to hold all of the plates. Like a lot of people really love being a jack of all trades in their business. And it's great to be able to like get in there and be able to do all of the things if there's an emergency, right? When I was younger, I used to work in fast food. So it's very important to be able to know how to run like this and run in case somebody calls in sick. That is not the same thing as running a successful business.
Yeah.
Especially when you're attempting to do it online, when there's so many ways that you can outsource things for a very small amount of money, whether you're, leveraging some amazing contractors to support you, all these different things. Like, you don't need to do things by yourself. And I think that's a huge part of radical self-acceptance as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And there's this, so I did a personality test, the five, with the top 5 on StrengthsFinder.
Hmm.
And if you've not done it yet, it's
I still
awesome.
have to get that thing from you to do my
Listen,
Strengthsfinder.
yes, I have a hack for doing it for free. So yeah, get it from me. I don't know, follow me on Instagram and I'll give you
Yes,
I'll
DM
DM you.
Lindsay
Yeah.
on
And I'll send you
IG.
the hack. Yeah. Anyways, I think it's like $50, but, so and it's worth it. It's very good. One of the ones that came up for me, I forget if it was it might've been strategy, it might've been adaptability, but one of my top 5 strengths, when I read it, I'd always thought of myself as like a dream stealer, like somebody who's so critical, and people would come to me with their ideas and I would be like, well, but this and this, it won't work because of this. And then they'd walk away and I'd be like, Lindsay, darn it, why didn't you just say, great idea? Like, why do you always got to pull people down? Why are you so critical? And then when I did the strengths finder and I one of the things was about, I'm able to see the red flags like 10 and 20 steps ahead so I can address them before they become a problem. And when I read that, the switch just flipped for me. That's not a downside of character flaw, a weakness. That is one of my strengths, to be able to be critical, to be able to see where things won't work, but then address them. And so as soon as that switch kind of flipped for me, it completely changed the way that I engaged with people when they brought me ideas. I didn't no longer had the pressure and all the talk in my head going, just be nice, Lindsay, just say yes, just don't tell them that it could be this problem and don't tell them it could be that. That just quieted. And I went, okay, here's how would I phrase it? I would say something like, there are some things here that I think are great. There are some things here that I think are potential red flags that could come up down the road. Do you want to talk about that? So it allowed me to have neutrality and present it that way. And I would even sometimes say my brain, the way my brain works is it automatically looks for the red flags so that we can deal with them now. Do you want to talk about that? So again, it just completely changes the conversation. And that's that part of radical self-acceptance. The more that you get to know yourself, and instead of fighting yourself or seeing the way you engage, the way you think, the way you work as a weakness that you have to overcome, but instead learn how to turn that into a strength. Oh my goodness. Again, it's going to change your business. It's going to change the way you interact with people. It's going to change the way you feel about yourself. And there's many more examples that I could share of that. But the more that you learn about and accept the way that you function and relate in this world, you're going to have a good time. That's what we want more of. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm actually sending you my Hinge and my Tinder login so you can look for those red flags for me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that in advance. Just send me an invoice. We'll get that handled. But I think that's super, super important. And one of the things that I love, and this is something that's a key, and it's a side note, is that oftentimes people will just go and like verbally diarrhea on someone with like, oh, that's not going to work, and da, 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 versus asking for permission. And I think that's one of the key things that really separates a lot of these amateurs from really seasoned strategists and coaches. Is I don't want to hear what you think unless I actually want to hear what you think. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have to be able to hold space for it. If you just say like, oh no, that's horrible, like this is what's wrong with it, it's easy like that. I'm going to take that personally, versus you saying like, hey, I care about you, I'd love to give you my insights on it, let me know what you think, and holding space for it. So that's super, super important.
Consent is sexy, friends, even in business, even with our conversations. Consent is sexy. I mean, this is why I teach permission sales. Consent. Ask questions every step of the way. That's how you have somebody, you're in it together with somebody, instead of risking, offending or just blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Consent is sexy.
So sexy that Zoom has us do it now before we were able to record.
Yes, this meeting is now being recorded.
Yes. So I have one more question before we call it a day. And the question is, and we probably will continue going on because we just chat a lot, is that with you doing sales and specifically teaching sales, right? So what do you feel like self-acceptance does when it comes to your sales effects? So me, before attempting to just like do what everybody else is doing, or what these influencers that I see are doing, like, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z, versus My name is Cheryl Sutherland. I'm the founder of Please Notes Goods,
Yes.
and I peddle happiness. Like, this is what I'm creating.
Yeah.
Like, what are the results that you've seen in some of the businesses you've worked with?
Yeah, that I love this question, and truthfully, I wish I had like 5 minutes to write some notes down. I'm gonna do my best to bring some recall here. So I'm gonna gush about myself for just a moment, if that's okay, and my students, the people in my community, because so many come with so much anxiety and fear around sales, and then when they start using my system to see that in itself is such a radical self-acceptance, to see them find their sales personality, their sales voice, their sales comfort, right? And just to see how much more confident they become in not only themselves but in what they're selling in their business. It is magical. And so this sense of self-acceptance, being better at sales. So the first part, I think, is again in understanding who you are and your type of personality. And so when you accept that, it's going to allow you to relate more to your customer, to your market, your I say your PPC, your perfect potential customer. And in that relating, you're going to feel a different level of satisfaction and fulfillment in your work, because you're having a more authentic, real connection with people. Then when you understand, so with sales, I teach about, wanting to, and I'm not the only one. Everyone says it's about keeping your funnel full. You don't want to hyper focus on one or two people. And then because you had one great conversation, you think they're going to give you all their money. And you've kind of put sort of that concept of all your eggs in one customer basket, right? You want to keep your pipeline, your funnel full of potential customers so that you're never putting pressure on anybody or on yourself to make the sale. And understanding that one person saying yes or no will not make or break your business. So we neither, when they say yes, think we've made it, or when they say no, think we're a failure. Like, we just remove these highly charged reactions, and we understand that you are who you are, and you have created what you've created, and there is a market for that. And when you understand that your job is to attract your PPC, your perfect potential customer, into your world, and then present them with the options for them to purchase when they're ready, versus I have to get out there and drag people in, I have to convince them, I have to fake it till I make it so they think that I'm great. It's a total paradigm shift in the way that you attract versus convince. And that comes from, the root of that is really around self-acceptance and standing solid in who you are and what you're selling. And so really, when you're out there selling your magnificence, selling your brilliance, think about how my job is to attract and present and let those who want it, because there are people out there right now with money who are looking for you, right? So you have to pull them in and present it and make it easy for them to say yes. And actually, I want to say one more thing onto that, because this is a place that we get to when we're new. This everyone needs what I'm selling. Everyone needs what I'm selling. And remember that your job is not to find those that need it, it's to find those that want it, because probably everyone does need it, but you're looking for the ones that are ready, that money in hand, I want what you've got. And that again is a switch from it's my job to convince versus it's my job to attract. So really thinking about how you want to attract by being you, which means you need to figure out who you are and what's important to you, and then get out there and share that with the world.
Lindsay, I hate you because you just dropped so many gems.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I want to go off of. Like, this is where we're starting the episode now, and then everything else we'll just delete. No, because like what you said, there was a couple things that really popped up for me. Is when you are confident in yourself, because you accept all of yourself, you can also accept like sharing it with other people. And there's this adage that the person that is most confident wins, right? So if we are having a conversation, a sales conversation, and if you feel like that I'm very confident in what I'm able to give to you or the transformation, people will say yes. Therefore, just making it easy for you to have the success that you want, and then also for them to have the transformation that you can give to them and give them that level of satisfaction. Another thing that popped up for me as well was really getting into the fact that, oh, I forgot it. Oh, I should have written it down. there was that, but then that sales conversation. Oh, well, you know what? If it's important, it'll come back.
It'll come back. I want to add on to what you just said though, that
Yeah.
the first point. And so, that's why I say you cannot be attached or have an emotional charge around yeses and nos. Because if you're not charged, if you're not across the phone or the Zoom or the sales funnel email or the Instagram reel, if you're not attached to this person has to say yes at all costs, or that somehow makes me a failure. When you don't have that, when you're confident, I know what I'm doing, and not fake it till you make it. I mean, genuinely grounded in, I know I'm in my personal power. This is what's up. I know my genius. When you're in that place and you have a conversation, people, you lose any sense of desperation or pressure,
Yeah.
right? There's an ease in the conversation, and that your customer will appreciate that, because there's no pressure on them. They can listen with a clear ear and feel what it is that you're saying without this pressure that they are a mark for you to pay, pay their grocery bill. Like, you know what I mean? Or for you to pay them to pay your grocery bill because you have to get this sale, right?
Yeah.
So just as much as you can be neutral around yeses and nos, and just understand when it's right for them, they will buy, and just remove that charge. The conversations are going to be so much more fun.
So good. And it totally reminds me of dating, right? Like when you're really focused on like this person and like how they're going to be your soulmate, and like this is the wedding, and then like for some reason they run, there's a reason there's running, because they can feel the pressure.
Yes, honestly it's the exact same.
And I remember the thing that I was going to say previously, which was around pricing.
Yeah.
If you accept that you are worth this much, then it makes it easy for other people to accept that as well. Yeah. Think about it. There could be two people selling very similar products, but you could have yours at like, twice the price, and people will still buy it because you are very clear about the value that you're given. While this person, they might not feel good about themselves. Like for so many years, like my pricing fluctuated because I was like, yes, this is a price based on the research that I've done, what I've put into it, the attributes, et cetera, et cetera. And people were like, oh, well, that's kind of expensive. And I was all like, okay, well, that's nice. So let me drop it down. And I dropped it down in price, and then I adjusted it. I put it back up. And then right now I'm at a place where I feel really, really good. Yeah. And when people ask me like, why is your stuff so expensive? I'm like, well, why shouldn't it be?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Well, and pricing, I mean, I would love to do a podcast around pricing because it is a beautiful, rich topic. I think that we often get told, price based on your value. And a lot of times we hear that and we think like our value as a human, not our value of our products and services in the marketplace.
No.
And right. Yeah. But people, yes. But people,
we are not human trafficking. Do not price yourself as a human.
But there is this sort of self-worth tied to it. And then so what happens is people internalize that I think less of myself if I price myself too low. And it's like, no, your price needs to be based on market value and what your market is reasonably going to expect to and want to pay. And so, it's, again, we make it so personal, and don't get me wrong, entrepreneurship is personal. It is our thought babies, idea babies coming into the world and being made real. And it is so personal to us, but the customer is not thinking of your insecurities. The customer is thinking about, is this thing that I'm going to spend money on going to help me get what I want or stop what I don't want, you know? And so really thinking about the value of your solution to your customer and what will they pay. And again, gonna be controversial here. A lot of my students, if they are having a lot of fear around pricing, I get them to price themselves low, because I know if they price themselves too high where they don't believe it, they will never ask for the sale. They will never promote and sell themselves. So price yourself low to where you feel comfortable, but trust me, you will raise that price quickly when you start to see how good you are and the value that you have. You will raise that. But again, that's a sense of self-acceptance, going, this is where I'm comfortable, so I'm going to price it at that. I'm not going to do what doesn't feel right for me. And then grow into the confidence around your pricing.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, with this game called entrepreneurship, like things are always changing. You can
Yeah.
price yourself up like once a year or every 6 months, or,
Yeah.
like close out an old program and like
Yeah.
repurpose it. I know, Lindsay, you work a lot with service-based entrepreneurs. So it could be
Mhm.
like you have a 6-week program and then it's like, oh, that's not like, it's not giving what it's supposed to give, and repurpose it and just be like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a new version. And then it's a higher price. Like we can
Yeah.
always play with these things.
Yeah.
And I think the more detachment we have to this and just understand that like this is the game that we're playing. Like if you have not done a SWOT analysis, if you have not done a competitive analysis and like really saying like, oh, this is this person, this is why they're able to price this much, this is like
Yeah.
what they've got in there, then it's going to be really, really tricky for you to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then whenever I do have conversations with people around pricing, there's always just like this sweet spot, right? If you price too high, you're going to feel like really awkward. You're going to
Yeah.
feel like not enough. If you price too low, you're going to feel resentful.
Resentful.
So
Yeah.
you need to get that juicy spot in the middle. And if you're in that spot and people are like, that's too expensive, well, then that's great. That's just not for them. But there are
Well, and
people
it
that are going to
depends
pay that
though.
price.
I totally interrupt you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So it depends because, could I charge $5,000 an hour to somebody who is a more advanced entrepreneur? For sure. But I work with startups, with new baby entrepreneurs, right? Less than 5 years. That's outside budget, right? So, what, yes, if your market is constantly saying it's too expensive, that's a problem. Either
Of
you've got
course,
the
that's
wrong
different. That's
market,
different.
right? Or you are charging outside what your market is expecting to pay. And so again, it's like we don't take it personally. Like if you want to charge more, but your market, they say there's the saying is the market won't bear it. Your market won't pay for it because it's outside of what they're expecting to pay. Well, then, you know, offer something different, right? Like find another way to create massive amounts of revenue coming in, for example, that aren't tied to one-to-one services or one-to-one, energy exchange. That's a great way to make more money with less work, right? So really just understanding what are all the options available to me to make money so I can be abundant no matter where my market is at, whether they are a high ticket market or an entry market. They're all going to make you lots of money. You just got to figure out what sells and what sells with least amount of work. Now, that's not the first few years. The first few years, so much work. But eventually, once you crack that code, you'll be able to create these scalable items that now require less work and way more money.
Yeah. And then you're probably going to be in a place where you feel really good, like in that
Yeah.
juicy little spot right there. Right. But
Yeah.
sometimes we'll have people that'll come to us that are in, let's say, for example, you work with entry level entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? But there are some people that might be like, yeah, I would love to work with you. And you're like, yeah, this is how much I am per hour.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, that's too much. Those are not your people.
Well, no, okay. I want to challenge that though, Cheryl, because I think when we say that, it sounds defensive or almost aggressive. It's not that they're not my
Hmm.
people, they're not ready to work with me yet. And that's why I have lots of free content where people can consume it, and they can be in my community, they can be in your community to consume and to still get the benefit. And then when they're ready. So you have to understand, when you hear a no from somebody, is it a no, I'm not the right person, or a no, not right now? And
Hmm.
that's why we do things like have email lists and build communities and on Facebook and different things like that on Instagram, because there's a lot of those no's are no, not right now, but
Hmm.
they will come back to you when they're ready. They
Yeah,
will,
that's a
right?
really great way of redoing it. And then so like instead of a no, this isn't my people, and then just being at the end of it,
Yeah.
offering them a different solution. I always love being like, okay, this is based on our conversation. I think this would be really great for you. And
Yeah.
if they say yes, awesome. Otherwise, we're gonna look at some different options. People and I would hope that if you are either, if you're not working with Lindsay yet, do it. However, if you're not, like, and you're still in that startup phase and really attempting to figure things out still, like that you're starting to build your email list. You
Yeah.
may or may not have a Facebook group. You may or may not have like something like on social media, like an Instagram or something,
Yeah.
where people can still engage with you and
Yeah.
engage with your content and continue to know, like, and trust you. And then perhaps stretch to that point where they're like, okay, yeah, I got it. Here's the money, here's the thing, and
Yeah.
let's do the thing. Right. So there's just so much to go into, and there's so much
Yes.
nuances. Um, I'm not going to get into self-made because we got to go. But with that, the gorgeous Lindsay Johnson, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah.
Is there any last words? Where can people find you? Tell us all the things.
So after this conversation, I'm going to say, come find me on YouTube, The Radical Connector. I have so many videos on things like sales and how to use Facebook groups or how to do public speaking, all these things that are geared towards how do you strategically use these tools to get money, to get customers and get money. Follow me on YouTube. Come follow me on Instagram, Radical Linz. I also have a community on Facebook, Rad Connectors, a little shortened version of my name. So you can come and hang out with us there. I do lots of free content, free workshops every month. Like I just really provide a lot of value for folks that are new in business and really feel like they're working their butts off, but just struggling to get customers and make money in an easy way and in a fun way. So there, and then of course my website, theradicalconnector.com.
Yay. Okay. Well, thank you again, Lindsay, for joining us. This was such an amazing opportunity to hang out with you again, have great conversations, and like get some verbal sparring going on. Like, look at me, I'm awake now. Woo!
Yeah, let's do this thing. Oh wait, it's done.
Done. And thank you again. And of course, we will see you back here, same bat time, same bat channel on Navigating Mindfulness, where we get to have the opportunity to go through and talk about how we are applying personal growth to all areas of our lives so we can have successful businesses. Again, my name is Cheryl Sutherland and I'm #amazing. And I'm joined with Lindsay Johnson, who is #abundant. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.